Honey?
What?
Where's the foam machete?
It got destroyed last year. You're gonna have to make a new one.
Okay. Hi, I'm Mr. Dale. Welcome to Haunted House. Today, I'm going to show you how to make this really cool foam machete. So, the machete is going to be made out of floor mats that you get like at Harbor Freight. And keep in mind that one side is kind of rough and the other side is kind of smooth. And I'm just using a, what do you call this thing? A knife?
A knife, yes.
I'm just using a knife here to cut these. Well, it's like a razor knife. It's like an extendable razor knife. Cut some pieces off of here that are about the size that I want for my machete blade. And I picked out two that I liked. And as you can see, I'm kind of drawing out the end of the blade. And then I'm really horrible with this knife, by the way. You can take a look when I hold these together. You notice that I'm using them back to back here so that I can, when I glue them together, they're glued together the right way. So they're smooth on the outsides. Does that make sense?
Yep, it makes sense to be smooth on the outside.
Yeah, so now take a look at when I hold these together. I flip them around. Look how badly I did. Anyways, this is a regular clothes hanger. Can you guess what I'm going to use this for?
Well, I don't have to guess. I know. I've seen the video.
Well, I'm going to...
I mean, we could all, we could definitely do, a Mommy Dearest thing here, but I suggest that we don't.
Yeah, so I'm going to straighten this out, and then I'm going to... I made two of these, as you'll see here in a second. Put a loop in the end here. That'll make sense in a minute. But we're going to use these as stiffening wires for the machete because the foam's too floppy. And this machete is almost 2 feet long. I mean, it's a monster machete. Now, you want to describe what I'm doing here?
Sure. You're just twisting the two wires together very quickly, which you do with your drill.
With power drill.
Yeah, power drill, because it goes faster and it's probably a lot easier to do.
Okay, now I cut two slits right into the end of this, and I'm using the heat gun to spread them apart so that this wire will fit inside there like that, you see. And then I did it on both sides, and I'm just testing to see if the wire, because I didn't want it to bulge,
Right.
That makes sense. And contact cement. Have you ever used contact cement?
I have used contact cement. It's like rubber glue, basically.
It is. The trick to it, though, is you need to let it dry before you use it. You can't assemble the parts while it's wet. It won't work. And so you need to coat both pieces and everything that you're going to stick together evenly, and then let it dry completely until it's like just barely tacky to the touch. So while that's drying, we're going to go ahead and cut out the handle. This is a piece of 3/4 inch plywood. It's just a piece of scrap. And I spent a lot more time designing this handle than I really should have, but it looks pretty good when I'm done. I literally cut like 10 minutes out of this part of the video. So I'm using my hand there to judge how long the handle should be.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty good idea.
Yeah, so it's not too small, not too big.
For your hand.
For my hand. I have an average size hand. And then I spent like an hour bandsawing this thing out. Luckily, through the world of editing, I can save all of you that really horrible,
painful
bandsawing.
Painfully long bandsawing.
Yeah. If you don't have a bandsaw, you could probably do this with a jigsaw. You could cut it out with a little coping saw or something like that. And then, of course, we have to sand it. Now, my sanding block, I just spray glued sandpaper to both sides of it. It's just a 3/4 inch piece of sandpaper, or 3/4 inch piece of plywood. I have two different grits, so I can do rough sanding, then I can do smooth sanding. Then I can do more rough sanding, then I can do more smooth sanding. Get it nice and neat, and a little hand sanding on the inside there. And then to the router table, this part's really not necessary. You could just sand off the edges. But since I have a router table, I routed up all the edges on it to make it nice and rounded. Except for the part where it actually connects to the blade. I didn't route that.
Right.
You'll see why. Now go back to the. These are dry. I coated the wire there too. That's why I'm being so gentle with it, because it's sticky.
Right. Because if you stick contact cement to contact cement, they're stuck together.
Yeah, you got to make sure you aim right.
Yeah.
And you'll see, I actually screwed this up at the end. It kind of, one end got longer than the other somehow. I'm not sure how that happened. You see how but I took care of it. I just cut that off. It's no big deal. And then magic piece of sawdust. Watch. Bink.
I know, I saw that. What is it with that?
I don't know. It was funny. You cut off this to fit inside the handle. Probably self-explanatory there. And then I drew where I wanted to drill the hole. Did it the wrong way, so when you see the lines on this thing, you'll notice that they don't line up because I tried to put it on the wrong side. But
it's okay.
I did it the right way. And then basically work the handle on until it's nice and tight. And then we get to use Debbie's favorite tool.
Yay. Eventually.
Here, somewhere. It's coming. I promise. Wiggle that handle on. All right. There it is.
Yeah, this is where we get to use the hot glue gun so your handle stays attached. Even though it is on there fairly snug.
It'll twist.
It'll twist, and that would make your machete look weird.
And then that's good information is you can use contact cement with this PVA foam, or you can use hot glue. It all works fine. Then because I did such a horrible job of cutting this with my little razor knife thing, I decided to trim it all up with the bandsaw again before I started sanding on this. And
could you have done some of this trimming up, or I guess finish work, by just sanding it?
Oh, certainly. It would have taken forever, but you can certainly sand it all down. And here's an example of that. And you notice my workbench is just a crappy piece of plywood. I don't worry about my workbench. That way I can just staple things right to it like these pieces of sandpaper, or I can screw the screw right into it when I was twisting the wire.
Right.
I don't worry about the workbench top. I can replace it. It's just a piece of 3/4 inch plywood. I think a lot of people worry about their workbenches, and they never get any work done because they're worried about their workbench. You notice this one's got like markings all over it and cuts in it and stuff like that.
Yeah. So you're just doing some rough sanding here.
Yeah, just brushing up the edges there. And then we're going to make a little jig so that we can get the bevels on that machete. But to be completely honest, the machete would work like it was.
Right.
You don't need to bevel these edges or anything like that. But I made these little blocks, cut them at an angle so they would stand up on a V. And I'll attach some sandpaper to these. And then I will screw the blocks right to my workbench. Basically in that position right there.
Yeah.
Actually, I did it really close to the edge, so you'll see why. And those are pocket holes, by the way. And then I took this whole thing and I just drug it right through there multiple times. And it was working really well. But I had been recording video for 6 hours to get this done. And I got really impatient. But you probably could do this in probably 15 minutes. You'd probably be able to get a really good edge on this. But I decided to take it over to my belt sander. And there we go.
There it is.
And now the thing I don't like about the belt sander is that it makes those that PVA foam comes off in these little tiny pieces of toxic PVA foam sawdust.
Foam dust, yeah.
Yeah. That's a clamp right there in the middle of the picture, holding a vacuum hose.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So
So,
it
you can
was
vacuum
vacuuming
that
it up,
stuff
yeah.
up. Yeah, good idea.
Then I ran it through the sanding block a couple more times there, and you can see how good it actually did. It put a really nice looking edge on there. You see? And
Yeah.
then a little bit of hand sand. Oh, whoops! I sealed everything. You heat seal PVA foam with a heat gun, and that now you could paint it, or you could, well, you could paint it if you wanted to, I suppose, or do anything else to it. It basically closes the pores,
Right.
especially when you've sanded on it. I did both sides there, and then of course a little bit of hand sanding just to clean off the edges and stuff like that. And that's basically it.
Well, there you go.
Any questions?
How long did this project take total for you to do?
If I weren't videotaping it, I could probably slam one of these out in about an hour, maybe 2.
All right. Well, there it
Yeah.
is. That's
Yep.
a nice looking foam machete.
Yeah.